And good evening once again. This is Brother Darren, Hebrews 9 verse 27 and John 3 verse 16 YouTube ministry. As I may have mentioned before, I'm still working on quite a few projects at the moment, and I'm also planning to move on to eventually a new software app in order to be able to record videos and to be able to also launch presentations. So I guess one of my main reasons for actually coming onto YouTube and being involved in ministry was from a prophetic point of view and perspective, to look at current affairs and biblical eschatology, as well as sharing the gospel. And within the Protestant evangelical perspective on biblical prophecy is the understanding or the notion that the Vatican, the papacy, and Catholicism for false and apostate doctrines are leading the pack as far as it's concerned for a church that persecutes, but also a church that is false in nature and doctrine. Although I still believe some Catholics are quite simple, quite innocent, and if they don't hold to doctrines which they know are false, I do believe some can be saved, or will be saved possibly. The problem is for not so much also I guess for general Catholics, but what the papacy is prepared to lead with, what the leadership is prepared to lead with. And this right here is the perfect example. Now, I've been limiting effectively what I will upload and sort of speak on, in particular because I've covered quite a lot in a brief amount of time that I've been on YouTube. But there are certain things which are significant markers, and a lot more than that are probably also, or should I say probably, talk about in the future. But you know, as I've said before, from the Christian Protestant evangelical perspective, there is a notion that as the end times unfold, we'll see a one world government or global governance. We'll see a one world church, or a church that is quite ecumenical, that is almost underpinned by universalism. And we'll also see almost like a one world currency, or at the moment we have the central bank digital currencies that are converging. Most nations are involved in projects or pilot projects for this, and eventually what we might see is interoperable central bank digital currencies and the abolition of cash. Now, all that appears to be in transition still. I just don't report on every single news article, but this here is quite telling. And it says Vatican, this is on Breitbart.com, and it says Vatican tells Muslims Ramadan is important for Christians too. Now, the Vatican, of course, class themselves and Catholics as Christians. What is certainly within my mind, without a shadow of a doubt, is the Vatican and the papacy are not Christians. These are men who teach false doctrines. They do it regularly, they do it consistently, and there's a number of false doctrines within the Catholic Church that on proper examination, if you looked at them, transubstantiation, a lot of Mariology, the Pope basically being the so-called chief of bishops, apostolic succession, and more, which I've talked about which are completely false, right? And I won't go on about those, but this here is very important. So in looking at this article, it says the month of Ramadan is important not only for Muslims but also for believers of other religions, in particular Christians, the Vatican asserted this week, right? The date of this is the 25th of March 2023. Now, I can tell you unequivocally that Ramadan holds no relevance, no connection for Christianity. Nothing within Islam does. And it's quite simple. Because if you read 1 John chapter 2, in particular, I think from verses 18 to 19 onwards, it talks about, in those verses, just onwards, it talks about that if you do not have the Son, you do not have the Father. And that essentially is antichrist. So that's what Islam is. It doesn't have Jesus as the Son of God. It doesn't claim that Jesus is God. When we read John chapter 1, we read, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word is God, which is talking about Jesus. So to even associate yourself with a so-called holy day for Islam is blasphemy of the highest degree. And this is what the Catholic Church, or should I say the papacy, has done in this latest announcement, this latest statement. So it says, in a message of good wishes to Muslims around the world, the Vatican's Department of Interreligious Dialogue said that during the month of Ramadan, existing friendships are reinforced and others are built, paving the way for more peaceful, harmonious and joyful coexistence. Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly fulfilling what I've kind of mentioned in a notion as far as the end times are concerned around one world religion. Because the Bible says in Revelation chapter 13, I'm not going to go to the specific verse, but read through the whole of that, is that the whole world will worship the beast, which is the antichrist, as far as we kind of understand it. And in order for that to happen, you have to see a convergence. You have to see interoperability. You have to see ecumenism take place and develop. And that which is utterly blasphemous or abominable come together. So that's what we're seeing. But it comes under a guise. It comes under some form of justification. Such peaceful and friendly coexistence is threatened by extremism, radicalism, polemics, disputes. Polemics? Wow, polemics. Just so you understand what polemics is, it's almost the opposite of apologetics. Polemics is the critique of somebody else's belief system or their doctrine. And it can be a particular aspect that you launch a polemic against. Okay, so polemics actually threaten this peaceful coexistence between the Vatican and Islam. And religiously motivated violence, the message declares, and these threats are fueled by a culture of hate. So me, basically stating that Islam quite simply and purely is not of God, not of the God that we know of the Bible, who became flesh for us, died, buried and was resurrected for our sins on the third day. You know, I'm spreading hate. My polemics against any other religion, which funny enough, centuries ago the Catholic Church took a harder line on. Not just that, but of course via Prince Henry the Navigator and the transatlantic slave trade, or the West African slave trade, which was started by Prince Henry the Navigator, who was part of a Roman Catholic order called the Military Order of Christ. West Africans and sub-Saharan Africans were taken into slavery and subjugated as so-called pagans. And Dum Diversas, which was the papal bull which was put out to kind of cement that or to endorse that, was the papal bull effectively, or part of a series of papal bulls which condoned the slave trade. And it was justified as a war against Saracens, who were the Muslims at the time. But now, post-Vatican Council II, we have the Catholic Church, or the papacy in particular, who are in fraternity and unity with Islam. So I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to make the video too long. You can read it for yourself. And for those who don't agree with me, if any, look into it. Look into the continued unification between Islam and the papacy. And ask yourself if an organisation such as that, or an institution such as the Catholic Church, which claims to be the only true and holy original church, so to speak, if God's truth is really in that. Anyway, God bless. As I said, I didn't want to make the video too long. But people, please do not be deceived. Repentance is a must. True and sound doctrine is a must. And rejection of any false or apostate doctrine or denomination, especially when it concerns salvation for your soul, which the Bible says to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, it is a must. God bless. This is Brother Darren, Hebrews 9 verse 27 and John 3 verse 16.